Hi, I recently watched House of the Long Shadows, that extraordinary rarity, a British horror film made during the 1980s. It's very much a tribute to a bygone way of filmmaking, being based firstly on a book that was published 80 years earlier, Six Keys to Baldpate, a story of a writer who makes a bet that he can churn out a gothic drama, the equal of Wuthering Heights, in only 24 hours, and is given the key to a remote manor where he can work and find inspiration. But he finds his work repeatedly interrupted by the arrival of a series of grotesques who seemingly have monstrous plans of their own. The book had been adapted numerous times in the pre-war period, again in 1947, and then a long gap until House of the Long Shadows in 1983. The cast is the most prominent part of the movie because although they're top billed, they are not the leading characters, but we do have Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and John Carradine all in the same film and often all in the same scene. In fact, in a twist, Carradine is revealed to be the father of Cushing and Price's characters, with Lee coming in later on. Um, The lead, however, is Desi Arnaz Jr., billed without the junior, oddly enough, presumably to cause confusion. And his snappy, witty American way with the dialogue undercuts any sense of tension the film might have. He seems almost impatient that he's involved in any kind of suspense story at all, and quickly loses his thread of story as it gets wound up in everything else. As a result, I found the first half of the film to be quite irritating and frustrating and dull. Once it moves beyond that, and the character essentially gives up on the idea that he's going to be writing a book that night, and we get more engaged with the various characters who've arrived, the film gains more momentum and it leans much more into the gothic horror element. And it becomes more engaging as it plays itself much straighter. It helps that that's around the time that Christopher Lee turns up, who plays his character completely seriously. Price gives it a little bit of a slice of ham, as he usually does, while Cushing, for some reason, has decided to play his character with a lisp. Um, it ends with a twist upon a twist, which I won't give away. I guessed one of them, but I thought including both is like putting a hat on a hat. You already have what you need to complete the story. You don't need to add an extra embellishment because that only pushes it into ludicrousness. Um, Overall, it's not a film that I could wildly recommend, but it does have that extraordinary position in film history that you have all these four actors together in the same film. I believe only Scream and Scream Again has Price, Lee, and Cushing all together, and even then, they're not all in the same scene together. Lee and Price only have one scene together, and Cushing's scene is separate from all the others. And this was Lee and Cushing's final work together, released 3 years before Cushing's final film, Biggles Adventures in Time. So it has a position in film history that is notable and worthy of documentation. But the film itself is not great. It's uneven. The comedy isn't funny. It's not until halfway through when the horror actually kicks in. Before that, it's playing it too much for laughs, and that then dilutes what's going on later on. So it has to count as a bit of a failure, if only a noble one.